Hello there, my name is Hydo and welcome to the Pantheon, where today it's a fruity episode. You know, we've got durian. No, we haven't. We got Durnan. Durnan? I don't know. I tried to make a joke out of a durian, which is a disgusting fruit. If you've ever had one, that stench is ridiculous. It is horrendous. Does this guy smell? Probably. He works in a bar. Anyway, he's a 4 mana of the Yawning portal. Don't know what that means, but it sounds quite cool. Anyway, human warrior, 3/3, and whenever it attacks, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may exile a creature card from among them, put the rest onto the bottom of your library in any order. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may cast it. That spell has Undaunted. Undaunted is a mechanic from a while ago. It was in one of the commander sets, and it allows you to pay 1 generic less for each opponent you have. And you can choose a background. So before he became a barkeep or yawned at portals, what did he do? Well, he was a passionate archaeologist. By God, he likes digging. 2 mana for an enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have, whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. So it fits really well. We're going to be exiling creatures with this card, casting them for cheaper with Undaunted. Oh, the pure, unadulterated value. So, really quite a cool commander. And I love the background aspect of it. You can choose whatever you want. And you know what I'd choose to do if I wasn't me? I'd choose to subscribe to this channel. Hey. Please subscribe. Come and join me on my journey through all of this garbage. And without further ado, just like an archaeologist would, you know, they dig through garbage. Anyway, let's have a look at my top 5. So in at number 5, we've got Scarecrown. And this section I want to focus on the Undaunted part of our commander. Because obviously Undaunted we can cast massive spells, but I like having free spells. So I've focused here very much on 3 mana cards that we can just get for free in a regular game of Commander. And we're also going to be dealing with a lot of artifacts. So it's a Scarecrow, pay 1 generic, sacrifice a Scarecrow, draw a card, so it could sacrifice itself or any other Scarecrow. Pay 4 and tap, return target artifact creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if we're going to undaunt some massive artifact creatures, you know, maybe 10 mana sort of things, we can get them back for free using this card. Really, really nice. And I think going deep into the sort of artifact theme is very important. Then we got Silvoc, Replica. I don't know. 3 mana for a 1/3. Pay a green, sacrifice it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Very nice just to get this on the board. Our opponents are going to have to play around it, and it's just there sort of waiting in ambush, an ambush viper, to just get them. And we can cast it for free. Then there's Brass Secretary. 3 mana, 2/1, pay 2, sacrifice it, draw a card. Pretty good. Well, is it? No, not really. But it fits well with the sort of Undaunted theme, and having a card draw on the field, always nice. Then we got the Foundry Inspector. So if we're playing a lot of artifacts, reducing all of our artifacts, not just from Undaunted, but in general, is wonderful. 3 mana, 3/2, artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So a big theme of the deck is artifacts, so a great include there. Then there's the Bronze Walrus. 3 mana for a 2/2 Walrus. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2, and it can tap for any mana of any colour. Ooh. So really, really good to use your artifact, your ramp package to sort of build out the sort of themes you want to do. So I'm going for 3 mana cards here. I like the number 3. It's got 2 lovely curves to it. So then we've got Salvage of Ruin. A lot of our creatures are going to die. So why don't we get them back with a card like this? 3 mana, 2/1, so potentially cast it for free. Sacrifice it, choose target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to your hand, so you can rebuy something, cast it, get an end to the battlefield effect. Really, really good with a couple of cards we're going to come up against next. Then we've got Palladium Mere, wonderful bit of ramp, 3 mana, 2/2. Taps for double colours, potentially getting it onto the field for free with Undaunted. Ooh, Wonderful. Love it. Love it in so many ways. So there's a 3-mana artifact selection for you. It's like a selection box except without chocolate. And it's just shards of metal destroying your gunwork. Then at number 4, we've got to throw the 3-mana one. But this is Construct Tribal. 3 mana for a 0/0 with modular 2, so it enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters, and if it would die, we can move all those counters to some other artifact creature. But the main reason I want to be playing it is tap, sacrifice an artifact, search your library for a construct card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. So we can just sacrifice one of our incidental artifacts that we've brought into play with Undaunted, or maybe you're playing a lot of treasures. Green-red is big into its treasures these days. So this can just sacrifice one of them and search up a big construct. But what constructs could we get? Well, Combustible Gearhulk is 6 mana for a 6/6 construct. So with Undaunted from our commander, that's 3 mana. And if we've got our background on the field, we're going to be dealing 6 damage to something. Oh, the deck just builds itself. First strike, when it enters the battlefield, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. That's very kind of you, sir. Thank you. However, if a player doesn't, you mill 3 cards. Then it deals damage to that player equal to the total mana value of those cards. So this is a construct that not only it's going to be dealing 6 when we cast it from exile, but when we're entering the battlefield, if they say, oh, okay, mill those cards. If we're playing a lot of massive artifacts, well, we're going to just dome them for tons of damage. Works on every conceivable level. Then we got the Mere Battlesphere. If we're undaunting it, it's only 4 mana, by God. It's a 4/7 and enters the battlefield with 4 1/1s. So that's 5 artifacts in total. Lots of things to sacrifice to the scrap yard. Whatever that thing was, I can't read. It's too far away. I can't read it right now. But when it attacks, you may tap X untapped mage you control. If you do, it gets plus X+0 until end of turn and deals X damage to a player or planeswalker it's attacking. Really, really wonderful card. And there's a sub-theme of this deck is going to be attacking multiple times. Spoilers. Ooh. Because we want to get those triggers off our commander. But again, we can get multiple triggers off this potentially if you're constantly creating mirrors. Then we got the Ruin Grinder. 6 mana for a 7/4. It's got Mountain Cycling, so obviously it's the most impactful card in the deck. Mountain Cycling, we discard this to get a mountain. Hey ho, that's what it does. Really, really nice. But it's a menacey guy, and it dies. When it dies, each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards. So all of these cards can help us filling up our graveyard, and red has a lot of ways to get artifacts out of the graveyard, potentially a direction you might want to go. Just really solid card, potentially 3 mana for a 7/4. Then we got the Hangerback Walker. So Undaunted is really, really great with X spells because we can just cast them for, you know, say we pay 0 mana. Well, at least we're getting a 3/3 if we've got 3 opponents. No, a 1.5, 1.5. You get what I mean. But it gives a wonderful reduction on X creatures. So it's an XX 0/0, enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters, and when it dies, put a 1/1 colorless thought to creature token flying onto the battlefield for each 1/1 counter on it. Then you can pay 1, tap it to put a 1/1 counter on it. 1/1 counter. So really, really good. Helps clog up the board with loads of artifacts. You know, if we've got some sacrifice outlets for artifacts or creatures, this is the card you want. Really, really works with the deck. Then Kuldoth the Forgemaster. With all those artifact creatures, why don't we sacrifice them? 5 mana, so 2 mana, and if Undaunted. 3/5, tap, sacrifice 3 artifacts. Search your library for an artifact card and put it onto the battlefield. Ooh. Then shuffle your library. So tutors up any one of these big massive artifact threats onto the field. Oh, maybe a Blightsteel Colossus. That's pretty good. And if you cast it from exile somehow, you're going to be dealing 12 damage with our background. Ooh. Oh. Oh. Then Apocryphite is a construct, and this works in a couple of great different ways. 2 mana 1/1. So if we undaunt it, it's going to be free. And when it enters the battlefield with 3 1/1 counters on it, if you didn't cast it from your hand. So if you cast it from exile, hey, there we go. And when it dies, exile it with 3 time counters on it, again suspend. So the cool thing about this is, when this final suspend counter comes off, you are going to be casting it from exile. So you get to deal a bit of damage. Comes in as a 4/4. It's a construct. It's an artifact creature. You could sacrifice it, get the time counters again. Oh, it just works so perfectly. for the deck. Love it. So there you go, some constructs that you might want to sort of play around with. Go into a construct tribal. Yeah, decent. And here's a 3 that's been eroded by time. So the archaeologists need to have a look at it. So in at number 3, we've got Cascade. Cascade works fantastically with the background because whenever we cast a card from exile, which is Cascade, that's what Cascade does, we're going to deal a ton of damage. And this works with the artifact theme we're already going into. Ingenuity Engine, 7 mana for an artifact. Cascade. So when you cast a spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you reveal one that costs less than this. Then we get to cast it from exile for free. Hey, pure value. But then the activated ability actually works really well in the deck. Pay 1 tap, sacrifice an artifact. Ooh, we've got a few of them. Return target artifact you control to its owner's hand. So it could potentially be this card that you then recast, or it could be any one of our other artifacts. Works great with all the enter the battlefield effects like Mere Battlesphere. Really, really nice card. Then we got the Throes of Chaos. 4 mana for a sorcery. Cascade. That's all it does. But it has Retrace, so you can cast this from your graveyard by discarding a land. So we're going to generally end up with a couple of lands in hand, you know, late game if we draw a land. Do we really want to play it when we've got 12 on the field already? No, we can just discard it to recast this, Cascade into a 3-drop or less, and then we're going to be dealing some damage and getting value. Brilliant card, works perfectly in the deck. Then Bloodbraid Elf, a classic. 4 mana, 3/2 with haste and cascade. So potentially 2 mana if we're undaunting it. And then we're going to be cascading for 4, dealing 4 damage. So many different ways this works well in the deck. Then moving on to the biggest of the big, it's Apex Devastator. 10 mana. Ooh. So if we're going to be undaunting it, it's going to go 7 mana. Or if you're playing with, you know, 8 opponents, it's only 2 green. Although if you're doing that, you've lost all sense and you should probably seek medical help. Then what does it do? Well, when you cast it, cascade, 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 cascade. By God, that's a lot of cascade. So that's going to be 4 cast from exile triggers, 4 lots of potential damage, and because this costs 10, we're going to be casting some massive things off it. Or we're just going to end up casting a bunch of 3-drops. But it's the randomness that really makes this fun. It's a 10/10 as well. Not so bad. Then, here are a couple of cards that just work well with casting from exile. Ignite the Future, 4 mana for a sorcery. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. You have to pay the mana though. If the spell was cast from a graveyard, you may play those cards without paying their mana cost. Oh, that's fantastic. Say we exile, I don't know, Apex Devastator. Suddenly, we're casting this for free from our graveyard, from exile. The flashback cost is phenomenal and exactly what we want to be doing. 10 mana, 8 mana, God, I'm falling to pieces. 8 mana is a lot, but you're playing green, you've got the mana. Then there's Nalfashni. I don't know, look at the WAPs on it. 6 mana for a 4/6 flyer. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, copy it. If you do, you may choose new targets for the copy. If it's a permanent spell, the copy gains haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this permanent. So just getting some wonderful bits of value from casting from exile, because that's a direction we definitely want to go. Getting a copy of everything, it's pretty good generally. Then there's Atali Primal Storm, an absolute powerhouse. 6 mana, 6/6, so potentially 3 mana if we're undaunting it. When it attacks, exile a top card of each player's library. You may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana cost. Potentially 4 cards we're casting from exile, because it includes ourselves. Obviously, you're going to hit a few lands every now and again, but not the end of the world. And it's an on-attack trigger, so the section coming up, it works fantastically with. So there's some exile sort of shenanigans you can have. Which takes me to number 2. And at number 2, we've got extra combat steps, because our commander really cares about attacking. And, you know, as you've just seen other cards that care about attacking. So Combat Celebrant is a great one. 3 mana, so potentially 1 red if we're undaunting this. If it hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it. when it attacks. If you do, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's additional combat phase. So that means that we can get in with our commander again. We're going to exile another card from the top 4, and we're going to undaunt another creature. Oh, so much value. Then there's the Port Razor, potentially just 2 mana to cast this if we're undaunting it. Orc Pirate, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. Port Razor can't attack a player it is already attacked. But we're playing a commander game, aren't we? We're going to have 3 opponents. So potentially that's 3 combat steps we're going to be having. Wonderful. Really, really good. Then there's the Hellkite Charger. 6 mana, so potentially 3. For a 5/5 with Flying and Haste. And when it attacks, you may pay 7 mana. If you do, untap all attacking creatures. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. The awesome thing about that is if you can constantly generate 7 mana, you can have constant combat steps. And then dig through our entire deck with our commander. Really, really good. And the reduction on this really helps because it's only going to be 10 mana in total you need to play it, attack straight away, and get at least 1 extra combat step. Better than the 13 you generally have to spend. Then we've got Karlach, Fury of Avernus. 5 mana, or potentially 2, for a 5/4 Tiefling Barbarian. When you attack, if it's the first combat phase of this turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So obviously, another combat phase is brilliant, but the first strike can really help possibly keep our commander alive. Maybe if they chump block with a 3/3, our commander kills it before, damage is dealt. Really, really good. And there we go, some extra combat steps that are on creatures, which fits the undaunted theme we're going for, because it's only creatures that we can undaunt. Then we've got number 1. Now, our commander cares about attacking, but he's pretty fragile. He's a 3/3, which is... he needs to hit the gym, let's say that. Or he could become sneaky and get the key to the city. Unblockability is always fantastic in Commander. Sneaking in there to kill a Planeswalker or an opponent is always very nice. And as with all those creatures that we've just seen, that give us extra combat steps, they need to be attacking. So we can either protect them or our commander with something like this. 2 mana for an artifact. Hey, artifact. Tap, discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. When it becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. So wonderful bit of filtering there, discarding a card, and then later on we can draw a card. But getting in there with either our commander, one of our extra combat step creatures, can really win us the game and turn the tide. Very, very good card and works wonderfully. Then there's the Manifold Key, which works with the artifact theme we've got going on. 1 mana, pay 1 and tap it. Untap another target artifact. Say we're playing a lot of artifact wrap, and this can untap something that taps for 3 mana. Ooh, big investment, well worth it. Or we can pay 3 and tap it. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. There we go. Stick this on our commander. Make sure our commander gets in. Yes, we can just, attack and let our commander die. But I don't want to. He's my friend. I like Durians. Hot Soup is 1 mana for an equipment. A quick creature can't be blocked. Whenever a quick creature is dealt damage, destroy it. Okay, so if your opponents are playing pingers, this card's not that great because they can just ping our commander and it dies instantly. The hot soup gets poured onto him. He's going, he's burnt to a crisp. Although actually, burnt to a crisp doesn't work with liquids because the liquid takes away from the crispiness. But it's a great equipment that you might want to put onto it, and everyone likes soup, or at least I hope you do. Then we've got Prowler's Helm to finish off. 2 mana for an equipment. A quick creature can't be blocked except by walls. 2 mana to equip. So, nice cheap equipment. If people are playing walls, well, are they a person you really want to associate with? I'll leave that up to your judgment, but I'm not saying what I think. But there you go. A great selection of ways of giving either our commander or another creature unblockable. And do you know what else is unblockable? My will. My will to keep going and carrying on making these videos. So come and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to make tons more like this. So, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this and it was a bit helpful. If it wasn't, well, it's tough luck. I've made the video now. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye.